All right, welcome everybody to the first night of the Juice Plus University. And what I want to tell everybody is, oh wait, it says start video. That's why I couldn't do that. Hang on one second. Um, what I wanted to tell you is why we've decided to call it the Juice Plus University. First of all, like at a university, there's kind of a board and a committee. And we got together with a number of leaders on our team and thought, what is the best way that we can help our teams grow and flourish? And we all thought back, or many of us thought back to when we were in school and to do anything, whether it's to become a personal trainer or like, you know, the gals that did the Lisa and Irene and Kristen Kristen, you're already a dietitian, but went back to school to learn. Some of you did Sears, some of you actually got your master's. You need to go to school to get good at things, right? How many of you would be a great nurse or doctor or lawyer or whatever, wherever you work, if you didn't go to school first? So this is that. This is Juice Plus University. Michelle, I think you got your master's and you went back to school and you taught music. Could you step into the classroom with absolutely any kind of teaching background whatsoever? You needed that help to develop those skills. That's what this is about. And as we go through each Monday, we will be doing different things, like taking different classes like you would at a university. And this first several weeks is communication on fire. That's what we're looking at for this part of the university. And we have been meeting for the last couple months, looking at Ditch the Pitch, looking at Story Brand by Donald Miller, just paying attention to our own awareness and our skills around communication, and really have been helping each other in this group that have been together for the past little bit, putting this together. So tonight, I'm going to introduce Patti Buckholz, hold on, spotlight, and Michelle Agluski. And the two of them are going to open up our first of several weeks for this university on the best practices to communicate, for connection, and to really make an impact on somebody, whether or not they choose to be on Juice Plus. But we know that trust is a key integral part of communication and moving forward in our business, helping people see what's possible for them. So without any further ado, I'm going to turn this over to Patti and Michelle. I'm not sure who's going to go first, but they're going to explain a little bit about what they're doing, and we're going to get started. We started 8 minutes late, you guys, so if you go a little bit later tonight, that's okay for tonight. We are going to try to keep this class to about 25 minutes, but we got such meaty stuff or juicy stuff that it might be hard to do. So take it away.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm gonna head things off, and we are going to try to be really concise and clear and laser focused, and we are going to get some engagement. So be ready to be either called on or raise your hand and jump in, but we want you to be concise and on point to really laser focus. So I'm going to start with Ditch the Pitch.
Hang on 1 second, Patti. I'm going to put everybody on mute, so you'll have to unmute yourself. Sorry about that. Okay, it's all done.
Okay, so I'm going to start with Ditch the Pitch, and we're going to show you how Ditch the Pitch and Story Brand weave in with each other, and they're both such amazing tools that you can find on, guess where? The Hub. So except Story Brand, but the Ditch the Pitch is still available if you want to do that. So we're starting with part 1 for Ditch the Pitch, and they have 5 areas. And the sales pitch. I'm not a salesman. How many of us hear that? Detecting the pitch. We all have customers. Why pitches don't work, okay? So that's kind of what I'm going to focus on. How do you feel? And I'd love somebody to chime in here. How do you feel when somebody is pitching you for something, especially if you're not sure if you want it? And I have a different view. So Nikki, will you call on them if you see their hands up or see them?
Yeah, hold on 1 second. Let me put it on gallery view. And Patti, can you just change yours to gallery view or not?
Yeah,
the reason I would like you to do it is because if I change it, that's what shows on the screen, and what we see here is what we want to be recorded. So go for it.
Okay, Lisa, what's it feel like to be pitched? Why don't you like it?
I kind of shut down. I go in defense mode. I'm like, I don't know if you know what you're talking about. And I might even want what they're selling me, and I'm a consumer. I want to buy everything. So, but when I feel like I'm being pitched, then I back away a little bit.
Absolutely. And I loved in Ditch the Pitch how he talks about things like, I mean, most of us here have kids, and your teenager, you're reading a book on the couch and your teenager cuddles up next to you, and, and you're like, wow, this is nice, right? And all of a sudden they start pitching you for some money because they want a new computer, right? So how does that make you feel? Does somebody else want to say, like, are you going to be open to giving them some money? What are you going to feel like if that happens? Leslie?
I feel totally annoyed when that happens, and like you're a little bit defensive, and just want to hold them at bay.
Absolutely. And, it happens to all of us. I love the scenario about, they go to Florida every year, and he's trying to convince his wife to go to Colorado and go skiing. So he's trying to pitch his wife, right, to have things switch there. And then, all of us are bringing on team, and we might have even said this, I'm not a salesperson. Just raise your hand if you're one of those people that said, I'm not a salesperson. Yeah, right? Who didn't, right? So we all have said that. And I love the whole thought process that a customer is anybody whose action affects your desired income. We got some stuff going on right now. I want new flooring. My husband's wanting to wait. And so really, he's my customer, right? I'm trying to pitch him to get this flooring going. So it can be anything that you're going to have some gain. You're the person that's going to do that. So elevator stories. Okay. I know there's a lot of networkers here. Who does an elevator story? Really, the 30-second. Nikki?
I have.
Iggy? Yeah. Who's in networking groups here? Do you guys do a 1 minute or a 30-second story? Right? So how many people really think that that's going to be geared to everybody you're going to talk to? Right? So probably pretty unlikely. But one thing I do, because if you've been part of our trainings through the HEAT team, you also know that we worked on our stories to get our stories down. Why would our stories be important if we're not going to just talk about us and we're not going to just throw our story out there? Does anybody want to put some suggestions out there? Why would our story be important to know? Leslie, I'm not going to count on you because you just went. Shelley, go ahead. Unmute yourself.
It makes it more personal.
Makes it more personal, definitely.
Yes, because if you have that experience, like, if you had a certain issue and Juice Plus has helped you with that, you have a personal experience. And a lot of times that personal side of it makes people feel a little more at ease and a little more trusting and confident.
Yes, exactly. And we're going to kind of go backwards a little bit, but if we know our story, just like Shelley said, they're going to feel a little more confident in talking to us. We're going to know how to weave that in to when we're talking to them. So we're going to turn everything into questions, right? I'm going to use Carrie's husband, Clyde. He is the best 3-footer person that we know. He talks to everybody. No kidding. And but say he's in the market and he sees somebody buying a bunch of fruits and vegetables, he's going to strike up a conversation with them. So say I'm going to call on you, Nora. If you saw somebody and you wanted to strike up a conversation and they were gathering a bunch of fruits and vegetables, what would you think? What would you say to them to start a conversation?
I would probably say, wow, I'm really impressed that you're buying so many fruits and vegetables, because the average person fills their cart with a bunch of junk in America, or, something like that. I'd give them a compliment.
Yeah, perfect. And being genuine about it, right? Just admiring that they do that. And maybe you'll start a conversation. So you always want to be real genuine, and you want to know if you can be of service of them. And that might continue a conversation, hopefully, right? We want to care about their stories more than we want them to hear our stories. Ditch the pitch. I love the thought of pitching, right? There's a couple ways. If you have a pitcher and you're pouring out. Who wants to be poured out on, right? Or pitching, baseball pitching, somebody's throwing something at you. So it's nice to be able to get involved and get that conversation, learn more about them. There was a scenario in Ditch the Pitch about his brother was sick. I think it was multiple sclerosis. And he started going to a bunch of doctors. And then he told his brother told just Donald, no, I drew a blank on the guy's name, Steve Yastro. He said, doctors and medicine, it's all about, it's either a pitch or it's not a pitch. And so the way you kind of decide is if it's if I'm going to gain something about it, but if not, it's not a pitch. So we have things to offer people that are not just a pitch. And I always like to say we have amazing resources. If you're not familiar with them, ask your upline. But again, on the hub, but we have recipes, we have Live Healthy, Be Happy is an amazing resource. So we definitely want to care about more about their story. We ask questions. Tell me more about that. Ask good clarifying questions. And I think there's a lot of people here that were on the Pajama Regional. Anybody want to take off of what Nora was talking about admiring their basket full of fruits and vegetables? Does anybody want to ask a question? Yes, Nikki.
Yeah, Nora, I loved what you said. It looks like, you're eating a lot of fruits and vegetables. Most people don't. I think if we can start with a question and get them talking rather than us talking to them. So what I might say is, gosh, you're buying a lot of fruits and vegetables. Will your family eat them all? And they say, yeah, but sometimes I end up throwing some out. Or do you have small kids and have you gotten them to be able to eat fruits and vegetables? That was something I struggled with. So starting with a question and then being quiet and letting them really have the playing field is what would get the most bang for your buck, so to speak, is starting with a question so that they're talking immediately to you rather than you talking. And starting with a compliment is really a great way. Saying that compliment and then asking them a question is just perfect.
And I know if somebody comes to me with a compliment first, you're going to kind of drop any screens or any walls you might have up and go, okay, this is a pretty nice person, right? And Aristotle said, the fool tells me his reasons, the wise man persuades me with my own. I love that. And I think if we can think about that when we do have a conversation. And so we want to help the customers to be attracted to the features he needs with what we have. And that's pretty simple when we know our product, right? Yeah, and then one of the reasons we don't like to pitch is because people stop listening. And I think, Lisa, you said it earlier, that when somebody stops pitching, you're kind of like almost, backing off, right? So does anybody have any questions on that before I'm going to pass it over to Iggy? Because I want to respect our time and see if we can keep people engaged. So be ready to answer some questions and put some comments. Any questions before we go on? Okay, Iggy, I'm going to pass it on to you.
All right. Thanks so much, Patty. And it's what I love about these trainings and what we're doing. These Ditch the Pitch and building your story brand seamlessly work so well together. And what Patty just talked about with the your elevator story and asking questions feeds perfectly into building your story brand. It's been such a fun experience of seeing how they fit together. So diving into building your story brand by Donald Miller. The first chapter that is what we're going to discuss today, and we're going to do a couple scenarios and work through some things like building off of like those questions that we just did and having more conversations. And as we go through these weeks, each time they're going to build and help us be able to communicate better with our people that we want to have these conversations with. Chapter 1 is talking about the key to being seen, heard, and understood, and which is fantastic. The basic concept of this whole chapter is focusing on clarity and moving away from confusion. So it's being able to tell that elevator story so simply that there's no question as to what you do. Have you ever been in a situation where either you're listening to a commercial, or if you guys have done one-to-one conversations with people where by the end of the conversation, you have no idea what they do? Have you ever been there? Or I've seen commercials where I've listened to the entire minute commercial or 2 minutes, and I got to the end and I had no idea what it was about until they showed the very thing at the very end of it. Well, what this is getting us to do is being able to tell the right story. And we may have a 30-second to 90-second story, 90 seconds or less what we want to get it to, but the key to telling the right story is being able to have clarity on what that person needs or wants. What Donald Miller talks about in this first chapter is our basic needs as human beings, and that being food, shelter, relationships, and a greater purpose or meaning, which kind of covers everything. We need fruits and vegetables. We have a great community. I mean, many things that we kind of go through and together. So it's just fantastic how it ties it together. So as we went on that conversation in the grocery store, what we need to find out are some of the key concepts of what happens. So we can, when we do get to the point of when we can do our elevator story, we can gear it towards whatever that conversation or the need of the person is that we're talking to. If we're just talking, like I think Lisa, you had pointed out at the beginning, of not wanting to be sold to and backing away, you know, how many times does this happen? We don't want to know, because they really haven't gotten to what we really need or want. You can't be talking to somebody about, you know, children and the children's health study if they don't have kids and they don't have kids in their life. It doesn't fit with them. So what I'd like to go through is maybe a couple possible scenarios to keep things simple. The first scenario being, actually, let me ask this first. What I kind of mentioned some key points about, like, our products. I mentioned community, if that comes up. I mentioned that it's fruits and vegetables. And this just came up at the Pajama Regional. One of the people said, it's fruits and veggies. What part don't you understand? The fruit or the vegetable? So, and not that I mean, that can kind of come off sarcastic. So maybe we don't always want to do that, but talking about key things that we have, what are the key concepts of what we have to offer people? Fruits and vegetables. Does that about sum it all up?
Great nutrition, easy.
Great, easy nutrition.
Relationships.
5 solutions to better your health.
5 solutions to better your health. Love it.
Healthy fast food.
Healthy fast food. Excellent. Really simple concepts that just key phrases of what we have. So now let's look into maybe a couple scenarios. Let's say you're having that conversation with the person, I don't know if it'd be the grocery store. Let's say it's someone that you met for coffee, and they're talking about being tighter all the time and they wish they had more energy. What are 3 key things we could ask them right away? Leslie.
I'd say one is just ask them, you know, is there a pattern, or what have they done? What have they tried to get more energy? What are they doing now?
What have they tried? Excellent. Excellent question. How else could we dive into finding out more about them being tired all the time and wanting more energy?
Are they sleeping through the night?
Are they sleeping through the night? Excellent question. Patty, you had your hand up.
I love the feel, felt, found. I would say, you know, I used to feel the same way, but I have found that when I watch what I eat and get more fruits and vegetables, I feel better.
Excellent. Love that. And that kind of wraps it all up in a nice tidy bow. Carrie, did you have a comment?
Well, I think just find a little bit about them. Like, do they have kids? You know, are they working full time? You know, does their husband work days and they have to stay up late or whatever? Just trying to find out a little bit more about, you know, what they're doing on a daily basis.
Exactly. That again, that key piece of how we're not going to know how to help them if we don't know what was happening on a daily basis for them.
And
Excellent.
Michelle, I would ask the question, gosh, if you had more energy, how would your life look different?
Excellent
Something that
point.
I would ask. I
And
wouldn't.
I'm so glad you said that, because that was my next point of when we're going through these scenarios is when Donald Miller, as he explains through building your story brand, he talks about the story itself and breaking down that story, which they'll get to in more detail in other chapters. But in particular, to sum it up, there's a hero, there's a guide. And in this scenario, there's something, if they don't change their health or if they don't have more energy, how does that feel? What happens? But what if they could change it? How would that feel? So if they don't, and if they do, because that also comes back to us getting people like started on track with their health, and we have a solution to help them, how much better they could feel. Just to keep that in mind. One more scenario I want you to think of. This is one that, let's say you're at a soccer game with a mom, or your kids are in soccer. So let's pretend that we're all parents and we have young kids, and you're sitting next to someone, and you hear someone talking about their kids missing a lot of school, and they're just getting sick all the time. What are some key things or some questions we could ask to get that conversation flowing a little bit more?
You could ask them if their kids are picky eaters, or what they've tried, or like, do they find it challenging to get their kids to eat healthy foods or something like that?
Absolutely. Yeah. You named 3 right there. Super important. And is it difficult to get their kids to eat healthy? How do they eat now? And just like Leslie had said, and now I just totally drew a blank. What was that question? Because you asked it on the other one, Leslie, and it was brilliant.
Oh, just asking them what they've tried.
What they've tried. Yes,
Yeah.
it works brilliantly every time. And I'm going to tell you, because I'm one of those people that has always had a difficult time asking questions. It's just part of my nature. Nikki knew that from the start. And one of the things that I would always ask now, if a question doesn't come to my mind, is tell me more about that. And stopping right there and letting them talk. Anyone else have anything else to add on with the kids get sick all the time and they're missing school?
I might tap into the parents' frustration and say, wow, that must be really frustrating. Do you have to miss work frequently because of that? Because then you're really tapping into, wow, they're missing work, and it's financial drain and frustration. So you can actually ask them a little bit about that too. And because if they tap into their frustrations, then you can actually start, asking about the food and maybe offer something that might work. I don't know if it'll work for you, but.
Absolutely. Definitely. Thank you for sharing that. That just starts that conversation, especially if it's someone with sports and kids in sports. Who knows what's happening in the mom's world or the dad's world. Either way. Anyone else?
Hey, Michelle, just real quick, Crystal, and I'm blanking out on this. The areas that are important to survive: food, shelter, relationships, and what was the 4th one?
It is greater purpose and meaning.
Purpose and meaning. Thank you.
Yep.
Interesting.
I saw that. Thank you for clarifying that. Yes, greater purpose and meaning.
Okay.
So there could be more scenarios here that we could definitely talk about, but I just kind of want to close it up this time, because we're going to be able to develop this in the next series, the times that we keep going on. So that's just a touch of what happens, or of where we're going with our stories. And it's just such a fabulous training, and I've been so excited to find out how Ditch the Pitch and Story Brand. I know I said that at the beginning, but they really fit so well together, and it's fantastic. So just to sum up a little bit, something that's super important that we want to keep in our forefront when we're thinking about that story, and that our story, when we get to tell it, is what does our person want or need? What problem are we helping them solve? What life could look like after our product or services for them? So I can't wait for you to hear more in the next few weeks and how these will build together, because it really is going to be such a magical experience for you. Anything else you want to add, Nikki or Patty?
Anything, Patty?
Nope, I think that was it. That was great. Thanks.
I'd like to just add, if you want to follow along and really get the most out of this next few weeks with our university, if you are in a school, there might be assigned reading. We're not going to assign it, but we're going to encourage you. If you don't have the Ditch the Pitch book by Steve Yastrow, Y-A-S-T-R-O-W, I think it's awesome. Every time I read something and I reread it, it's like for me, it's like a wow. And the same with the Story Brand. And Donald Miller, of course, was at our last conference and made a big difference. And I got his book as well as a lot of us, and we've been going through it. But I think to follow along, it may be really helpful. So next week, I believe we're just covering, I think, chapters 2 and 3 of Ditch the Pitch, and I think chapter 2 of Story Brand. Is that right, Michelle?
I think so, yes.
Okay, because you did
I
chapter
have
1.
2 and 3 for both.
Okay, 2 and 3 for both. So if you want to check it out and be ready to go, it will make this doubly powerful for you if you choose to just jump into this university. And of course, we hope that you'll share this with your team and get them started on this, because that's who this is for. Yay!
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone,